The general's voice shattered the silence like a grenade blast. "I need the world's best sniper," he shouted, eyes wide, face flushed with urgency. His words echoed through the command tent, bouncing off maps and radios, landing on the ears of every soldier like a verdict. The unit froze, the way a crowd freezes before a storm. Everyone knew what he meant. Someone had to take the shot, and the wrong choice would cost lives. In that moment, a young woman sat at the edge of the table, her hands still trembling from the last briefing. Esh! She was just a small figure in a room full of men who believed strength was measured in size, not precision. But her eyes held something that made the air change. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're re-watching from. I love knowing who's listening. The tent smelled of dust and sweat, the heavy heat of a desert day trapped under canvas. Outside, the wind carried grit and the distant sound of engines. Inside, the tension was almost visible, hanging like a dark cloud over the table. The soldiers stared at the general, then at one another, waiting for someone to volunteer. No one moved. Her name was Mara. She had been assigned to the unit as a support sniper, a role often overlooked, because the men believed she was only there to carry gear and take notes. They didn't know she'd spent years in training, hidden behind a quiet demeanor, learning to breathe with the patience of a monk and the focus of a predator. The general slammed his fist on the table. "We don't have time," he barked. "We have one shot, one window, and a target that can't be missed." Mara felt her heart tighten. She knew the target. She knew the stakes. A high-value insurgent was moving through the valley, and the unit's path depended on him being stopped. If he reached the village, the entire mission would fail. The room seemed to tilt. The soldiers began to whisper. Some tried to speak up, offering names of the best shooters they knew. Others stayed silent, their eyes flicking to Mara like they were trying to decide if she was even worth considering. It was the same look she'd seen her entire life, doubt disguised as indifference. Mara's mind raced. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing on her. She could feel the eyes. She could feel the doubt. She also felt something else. A quiet certainty. She knew what it meant to be underestimated. She knew what it meant to be dismissed. She had learned to live with it. But she had also learned that the world only changes when someone dares to speak. She lifted her head as the room went still. Her voice was soft, almost hesitant, but it carried a strength that made the soldiers look up. "I can do it," she said. A ripple moved through the tent like a breeze passing through tall grass. The general stared at her, his expression unreadable. The soldiers exchanged looks, some of them smirking as if she had just made a joke. "Are you sure?" the general asked, his tone sharp. "This isn't a training drill, this is real." Mara swallowed. Her mouth was dry, but her hands were steady, but her heart hammered against her ribs. She felt the fear in her chest, the fear of failing, the fear of being proven wrong. But she also felt something else: responsibility. "Yes," she said quietly. "I'm sure." A murmur spread through the unit. Some men shifted uncomfortably. Others seemed angry, as if the idea of a woman being the best sniper had offended them. One of them stepped forward, his voice low and bitter. "We have trained marksmen," he said. "Why would we risk this on her?" Mara's jaw tightened. She felt the sting of the insult, the way it cut deeper than a bullet, but she didn't react. She didn't argue. She simply looked at him and said, "Because I'm not here to prove anything to you. I'm here to save lives." The general's eyes softened, just slightly. He nodded once, as if he'd been waiting for her to say those words. "Fine," he said. "You're up." Mara moved quickly, her body flowing with the quiet confidence of someone who had done this before. The unit followed her out into the harsh light, the desert wind whipping dust into their faces. The target's route was visible in the distance, a line of movement across the valley like a dark thread. Mara climbed to her position, her breathing slow and controlled. She felt the rifle settle into her shoulder, the weight of it familiar and comforting. She scanned the valley through her scope, watching for the slightest movement, the smallest change in the landscape. Time slowed. Her finger hovered over the trigger. She could feel the moment stretching, like the pause before a wave breaks. She could feel the lives depending on her. Her mind drifted for a second to a memory of her father teaching her to aim at a target, telling her that a shot was never just a shot, it was a choice that carried consequences. Mara blinked, clearing her thoughts. She found the target. The insurgent was moving with a group, his body half hidden by the terrain. The shot had to be perfect. No mistakes. Her breath matched the rhythm of the desert wind. She waited for the right moment. Then she fired. The rifle cracked, the sound swallowed by the vastness of the valley. The insurgent fell, and the group scattered, panic ripping through them like a storm. The unit's path was clear, silence. Then, the most unexpected sound: applause. Not loud, not theatrical, but sincere. A few soldiers clapped, then more joined, until the whole unit was clapping, stunned into admiration. The general stood there, his face pale with disbelief and respect. Mara lowered her rifle, her hands shaking slightly. She felt relief, yes, but also something deeper: validation. Not from the men who had doubted her, but from herself. The general approached her, his voice softer now. "You were right," he said. "You were the world's best." Mara nodded, the desert wind brushing her hair. She looked out at the valley, at the place where the mission had almost failed. She thought of the moment she'd been dismissed, the moment she'd been underestimated, and the moment she chose to step forward anyway. Because courage isn't loud, it's quiet. It's steady. It's the decision to stand when everyone expects you to fall. Because the best shot isn't the one that proves you're strong, it's the one that proves you're ready. If this story moved you, comment where you're watching from. Subscribe to Whispered Words for more real mission stories that show the power of courage, skill, and quiet strength. And remember, every time the world doubts you, it's just waiting for you to answer.